Listen to your heart. Your heart is never wrong. Always face the truth. Your heart won't lead you home.
Welcome to Soul Wealth, wealthy conversations that nurture the soul. Get ready for an enlightening conversation that will nurture your soul and help you live your best life. Now, here's your host, Dr. Vicki Johnson.
Welcome to the Soul Wealth Radio Show. I am your host, Dr. Vicki Johnson. Super excited and grateful to be back here on dcradio.gov and 96.3 HD4. It's a beautiful day in the Soul Wealth neighborhood. So excited to have my guest today, who is a health and wellness expert committed to supporting women on their journey to optimal living with a focus on self-care and self-love. With 20 plus years of experience in health promotion and prevention, my guest today has had the opportunity to work with communities of color, women, and youth in the areas of sexual violence prevention, HIV, STD prevention and treatment, cardiovascular disease prevention, and diabetes prevention. She's had a passion for health since she was a child. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in biology and chemistry at North Carolina Central University. She is currently enrolled at the George Washington University Milken School of Public Health in their Master of Public Health program. In May of 2018, 4 months prior to enrolling at GW, she started a one-year health coaching program at Legacy Holistic Health Institute. Because of her academic excellence and work experience, she received a scholarship and was named a Legacy Scholar. In May of 2019, she graduated with Legacy's inaugural class as the class salutatorian. She's kind of smart, y'all. She's brilliant. And she received the Standing Ovation Award. Of all the certifications, schooling, and degree programs she has pursued, Legacy Holistic Health Institute is her favorite. She started working at the age of 12 because she didn't like being told what she couldn't have. That's consistent with who I know her to be. She's had a distinct pleasure of working in the fields of retail, banking, pharmaceuticals, clinical and social research, health prevention, and promotion. She has shared her knowledge, expertise, and skills at universities, drug companies, health departments, churches, and hospitals. She recently celebrated her 3rd year anniversary at Children's National Medical Center as a clinical research coordinator in their rare disease and Children's Research Institute. This past March, my guest today launched her own business, Loving Me Always, LLC. In this business, she offers international holistic mind, body, and spirit health coaching services and disease prevention training and workshops. The current initiative for Loving Me Always focuses on the health disparity of heart disease in African American women. Loving Me Always ideal clients look like my guest today, women of excellence who give to their families and communities, work relentlessly, passionately, and diligently, but forgets to or feels guilty taking care of herself first. Loving Me Always slogan, which I love, is me first every day, unapologetically. She's the mother of one son and is just an amazing and dope soul. I'm going to stop there. There is more, you all, but I'm going to stop there because I want to get into our conversation. Welcome to the Soul Wealth Radio Show, Leslie M. Atley.
Thank you, Dr. Vicki. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me today.
I'm so happy to have you here, and that's a lot, but I love a lot because that means you're accomplishing a lot. That means you're making a difference. That means you're impacting lives, you're touching people, you're transforming lives, and it also, to me, reflects the work that you have done. on yourself.
Yes.
Because I often say you cannot give away what you don't have. So loving me always, only you. Only you can have that. So Leslie, share with us who or what inspires you. Where does your inspiration come from?
My inspiration comes from within and also from a legacy of strong women, being my grandmother, my mother, and 3 aunts, as well as a grandmother who had passed away.
What about them inspired you?
I think their
Or
strength,
inspires, I should
yes,
say.
their strength, their determination against all odds. My grandmother was an orphan and then had 7 children. Her husband passed when her oldest was 13. So she raised those 7 children by herself.
Wow. So that speaks to resilience. It speaks to determination,
Yes.
endurance, resourcefulness.
Yes.
I'm sure, all of which you reflect. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and my my other grandmother was wisdom beyond her years. I reflect now on conversations we had, and I just look at her like, Grandma, that don't make sense. But I was always the child with that grandmom. She would say, well, Leslie, it's this. And I say, no, it's not, it's this. And if she said, the sky is blue, I say, no, it's not, it's blue with white clouds. But a lot of the wisdom that she shared with me as she kept my brother and I while my parents worked, or spent a lot of time with her. She lived with us at one point. I'm now able to tap into and see where I get it from.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful and rich gift. And, I find so much value in spending time with elders and those who are elders in years, right? Who've had some time on this journey, not just time, but experience. And then experience that have become lessons. So that leads me to my next question. What have been some of your greatest lessons in life thus far that have caused you to pivot? We all have those experiences, that kind of come and go, but then there are some that cause you to shift. Share some of those.
I think a lesson and a affirmation that I shared while at Soul Sun and Spa in 2017 with Dr. Loretta Halstead. We were sitting under the moon. And what I shared amongst my Soul Well sisters was, I don't have to do what people want me to do. And that declaration and affirmation for myself, like you said, it caused a pivot. It opened up for me and shook off an innate feeling that I had to perform, that I had to be the person that people could look to for an example, that I had to be the savior, if you will. I am the oldest child, the oldest grandchild of 14. And so I took on the mantle of taking care of everyone and answering any questions and being the person you could come to if you needed something. But the liberation that came from that moment of knowing I really could do what Leslie wanted to do. I didn't have to do what other people wanted me to do.
Was that just an aha in the moment, or was that something you had been thinking about that led to that moment? Or do you remember? Did it just come to you?
It came to me while we were under that moonlight, but it sparked in me an activation to live it, to believe it, to know that everyone is okay if I don't tend to their business and tend to my own.
I'm always talking about mind your own business, right? Stay in your lane.
Yes.
And what that also does is it allows people to have their own experiences, which you never get the lesson if you don't have the experience. If we short circuit people's experiences, we also short circuit their lessons. And so
Yes.
I think that's really powerful that it just came to you and then, see, that's what was, those two words are the most powerful of what you said. And then sparked an activation. It wasn't just a download that you got, but the download then provoked you to do something.
Yes.
And not just activate it, but practice it until it became a way of being, a part of
Yes.
you. And that's really a powerful thing. So you talked about being at the Soul Sun Inspire Retreat, which for those of you listening is an annual retreat that I do with my mentees each year on the beach, because that's one of my self-care tools and locations. And I share that with the ladies that I have the privilege to mentor. And also something else came out of that experience, which is your love for travel. Talk about that and how that caused you to pivot, because I distinctly remember the Leslie before she decided to do that and the Leslie after. Like it's amazing to witness. Share with our listeners what travel has done for you. But before, what got you to that point?
I've always loved to travel. I plan trips for my family every year, our family vacation. So I was already doing that. That same Sun, Soul, and Spa, when we ended, I had decided that the following year I was going to take a trip every month. I didn't know where.
You heard what she said. That was not an error. She said she was going to take a trip every month. I want to frame that so that moving forward, you're hearing her in context. So you decided you were going to take a trip every month, and
And I did it.
period.
I just did it.
Period with a T on the end, right? Period.
Yeah.
You decided and then you did.
And then I did it.
That's a great soul wealth tip. Make a decision and then do it. Execute, implement, activate, manifest. Do it. You made a decision and then you did it.
And that awakened in me a belief that I can decide and do something and I can really do it.
That's powerful. Did you not have that belief before?
Before, I think I am, and I'm, it's a transition and a growth, but I am very methodical. So it had to be thought out. Did it make sense? Was the money there? Who was going to go? How were we getting there? So all the details were a roadblock. But
wait a minute. Hold on. If you've been with me since the beginning of the Soul Wealth Radio Show, we take these pauses. That was good. When you're so focused on the details that the details become a roadblock, you're thinking too much. You're thinking too much. You're in your head.
Too much.
You're living your life in your head and not living your life heart-centered. Because when you're heart-centered and make decisions and then you do, right? All the rationalization going on in your mind seems to dissipate, right? It fades away. So for those of you listening who get stuck in the mire of details, you're missing out a lot, because that's a rabbit hole that you can go down and never hit the bottom.
Yes.
Yes. So details and let me say details are important. I'm not saying that those things aren't necessary, because they are. But when you start drilling down to the point where there's nothing left of the detail, and are you sure? And are you sure you're sure? And are you sure that you're sure that you're sure, right? Now you're wasting heartbeats and time. So I think it's important. That was an important recognition that the details had become an obstacle. What shifted that for you?
Just wanting to do it and knowing that, again, I didn't have to do what people wanted me to do. So if someone had something else they wanted me to do, normally I would just, okay, well, I won't do what I want to do to help you.
Okay, stop. You are dropping nuggets. See, here on the Soul Wealth Radio Show, we have wealthy conversations that nurture the soul. And more than the information, I want you to be inspired. I want what we are sharing with one another to have impact. And how many times have you not, I'm talking to now those of you listening, how many times have you not done something you wanted to do because you put somebody else's preference or someone else's opinion or someone else's impatience, right? I remember growing up, there was a poster that used to say, your lack of planning does not, for me, create an emergency.
Yeah.
But when you put yourself in the background and are people pleasing, because that's what it is,
Yes.
you want everybody else to be okay, even if it's at your expense. I think it's really a powerful awareness, Leslie, that you now understand and believe and know that you don't have to be a martyr
Yes.
to be loved
Yes.
or to be accepted or to be approved. Like, hear that. I'm saying it that way for someone who needs to hear that. You don't have to perform for love.
Yes.
And the truth is, when you are flowing authentically in who you be and who you were put on this earth to move as, you'll be approved and loved and accepted anyway by the people who you're supposed to reach.
Absolutely.
Because frequently we're performing and doing all of those things for people who really are not that important in the scheme of things. And I'm not saying people are not important, but I'm talking about your specific destiny. I think that's powerful. How does that feel?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Once I understood the lesson of not performing for love and just being, I understood that I am love. And with that understanding came blissful experiences,
That's beautiful.
open doors, opportunity, but most importantly, I think my own fulfillment.
Wow. Take a deep breath, everybody. How frequently do we put our own fulfillment on the back burner? A lot.
Yes, I think even more so for Black women.
Yeah. And so what we want you to hear and know is that you are worthy of living a life of fulfillment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Personal fulfillment, not fulfilling other people's orders for your life, but your dream, your vision, what you desire. Leslie, what is a moment that changed your life forever?
It was a Saturday afternoon, and I was laying on my couch, blinds closed, because that's the way I like it, with my Lifetime movie on. I had a candle burning, and I said, God, how did I get here? And his response was very quick. And it was, you've taken care of everyone else. You've built everyone else's dreams and visions and goals. But you forgot about Leslie.
That was a mouth drop moment. Eyebrow raise.
That was my awakening. And it was a hard pill to swallow. I think it was hard because I enjoyed taking care of people. I enjoyed building other people's dreams and visions. I enjoyed being the answer. But I had been running from my own vision for too many years. And the time was up.
Wow. And so now look at you. You are this amazing clinical researcher. You are at GW, that's George Washington University, working on your master's. You've graduated from Legacy Institute, and you're an author. Talk about your book.
So I had the opportunity to be a co-author in Awaken to Wellness. It's a book of 11 stories of women's journey towards their wellness. And my chapter is love.
Isn't that something? And you have on a love shirt.
Yes, I am love.
I love it. I love it. And so your chapter is on love. How powerful is that? And you probably would not have been able to write that if you had not learned some lessons that caused you to pivot or had that encounter that shifted you forever. And the result is now you're an author with a powerful chapter, I might add.
Thank you.
And what's the name of the book again?
Awaken to Wellness.
Awakened to Wellness. And you wrote the chapter on love, which means love is a thread in your wellness. Like
Absolutely.
If love is not a part of your wellness, then you're not
You're
well.
not well. You're not well.
You're on your way to wellness, but
Yes.
you're not well. And that love has to start with self-love.
Yes.
Yeah, so Awakened to Wellness. At the end of our conversation here in a few moments, Leslie will share how you can get a copy of that book. And each chapter is powerful. The convener is powerful. The founder and creator of Legacy Institute, Dr. Angela, who's powerful as well. She convened all of these authors to put these stories together. Leslie, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for this season of my life where I am truly loving every day.
That's great.
I am grateful for my family. I'm very close to my family, and they mean the world to me. So I'm very grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my son and the wings that he spread. But I'm just grateful that I was able to re-find Leslie.
Refined. That's not a blubber. She's saying refined, like rediscover
Yes.
herself. And in your bio you talked about tribes and sisterhood. So how has sisterhood really impacted your journey in a way? Like, I'm blessed to be your mentor and to have you as a mentee, but how has the environment of sisterhood impacted your love journey?
So you started out sharing, the benefit of sitting at the feet of elders. Growing up, outside of my aunts and my cousin, because I only had one girl cousin growing up, outside of them, I would tell people I don't really like girls. I don't like women. I have my couple of good friends, and that's it.
You know what? Hold on for a second, and we're winding down, so I'm going to say this really quickly. But I want to say I hear that a lot, doing sacred sisterhood work and mentoring women and growing up, as an advocate for girls first, then women, because I started my first girls club when I was 10 years old. I used to hear that a lot. And the recognition, the awareness, the understanding that I now have about that is women who say that have really some issues with their own self-worth. Because I don't deal with women. I can't be friends with women. That's not an indictment on women. That is work you need to do in the mirror. Because it's impossible to not like women, and you're a woman.
I am a woman, yes.
I just had to insert that because you are the first guest, and I'm not sure you will be the last, who say that. And so now it's time to call that into accountability so we can heal that message, because that's a lie.
Yes.
If you're a woman and you don't get along with women, it just means you have work to do. It does not mean that something is wrong with women, because that's not a wound you'll ever heal until you change that mindset.
Yes.
So you were talking about
So
sacred sisterhood.
in that moment, I had just recently joined a church in North Carolina, and I was the youngest in this women's ministry. And I made that statement. And I think it was God's design that those women proved me wrong. And that core of women shifted my understanding, my perception, and even my belief. And so as a result, I opened my heart and my belief system to understand the power of sisterhood, the power of being surrounded by beautiful women, iron sharpening iron, supporting one another, celebrating one another.
That's awesome. What legacy do you want to leave? And then tell us, how can we find you? How can our listeners find you?
I would like to leave a legacy of love, in particular self-love, that leads to healing women, especially in the area of heart disease.
That's powerful. And the heart is tied to love.
Absolutely.
That's great, Leslie. How can our listeners get in touch with you, women who may want to work with you? Where can they find you on social media? Share that information as we wrap up.
Sure. So on Facebook, you can find me at Loving Me Always, as well as my personal page, Leslie Atley. I'm on Instagram as LMA.lovingmealways. I can also be found on my website, lovingmealwayswithans.com.
That's awesome. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Loving Me Always.
Thank you for having
Thank you,
me.
Me First, unapologetically.
Every day.
All of that every day. Me First every day. Unapologetically. Listen, I am Dr. Vicki Johnson, and you've been listening to the Soul Wealth Radio Show here on dcradio.gov and 96.3 HD4. I know this wealthy conversation nurtured your soul. Soul wealth is your birthright. It is your inheritance. And as Leslie said to us today, you cannot be well without incorporating love into that journey. So go out, live full, so you can die empty. Until next time, peace.
You've been listening to Soul Wealth, wealthy conversations that nurture the soul with Dr. Vicki Johnson. Soul Wealth is not just a brand, it's a lifestyle of vision, compassion, authenticity, abundance, and legacy created one conversation, one choice at a time. For more information, visit VickiJohnson.com or click on Soul Wealth at dcradio.gov.